Frozen pizza is one of the most ubiquitous ultra-processed foods sold in supermarkets around the world. Brands like DiGiorno in the United States and Dr. Oetker in Europe are widely recognized, offering quick, affordable, and ready-to-bake meals that require little more than an oven and 15 minutes of patience. This level of convenience makes frozen pizza a staple in many households, particularly among busy families, students, and workers with limited time or cooking skills. However, beneath the crisp crust and melting cheese lies a dense matrix of nutritional hazards, namely refined white flour, high levels of saturated fat, excess sodium, chemical additives, and virtually no dietary fiber or protective nutrients. The base of most frozen pizzas is made from refined white flour, which is stripped of its bran and germ, removing the bulk of the grain's fiber, vitamins, and minerals. This highly processed flour breaks down rapidly in the body into glucose, spiking blood sugar and insulin levels. When consumed regularly, this contributes to the development of insulin resistance, a precursor to type 2 diabetes. Moreover, these refined carbohydrates offer little satiety, meaning they do not keep you full for long, encouraging overeating and weight gain. The saturated fat content in frozen pizzas is another serious concern. A single serving, often just 1/3 or 1/2 of a pizza, can contain 8 to 12 grams of saturated fat, mostly from processed cheese and fatty meats like pepperoni or sausage. Consuming just 2 or 3 slices often exceeds the American Heart Association's recommended limit of saturated fat for the entire day. Excess saturated fat intake is closely linked to elevated LDL cholesterol levels, increasing the risk of atherosclerosis, heart attacks, and stroke. The danger is compounded when frozen pizza is eaten alongside other fatty processed foods, which is often the case in diets heavy in convenience products. Sodium levels in frozen pizza are alarmingly high. A full personal-sized pizza can contain 1,200 to 1,800 milligrams of sodium, often close to or exceeding the total daily recommended limit. Sodium is used in multiple components of the pizza, including the crust, sauce, cheese, and meat toppings. High sodium intake is a major driver of hypertension, high blood pressure, a silent condition that significantly raises the risk of heart disease, kidney damage, and stroke. Given that frozen pizzas are often consumed with salty sides like chips or soda, the cumulative sodium burden can be dangerously high, especially in children and individuals with pre-existing health conditions. Artificial additives and preservatives are also common in frozen pizzas, especially those with long shelf lives. These may include phosphates, used to stabilize processed cheese, nitrates or nitrites in processed meats, and chemical dough conditioners to improve texture. Many of these compounds are associated with negative health outcomes. For example, high phosphate intake is linked to kidney stress and impaired bone health, particularly in individuals with chronic kidney disease. Nitrites, when combined with amines in the body, can form nitrosamines, which are potentially carcinogenic, especially when consumed regularly over time. Some frozen pizzas are marketed as gourmet, thin crust, or vegetarian, creating the illusion of healthfulness. However, even these versions often contain ultra-processed cheese substitutes, modified starches, and added sugars in the tomato sauce. The use of flavor enhancers like monosodium glutamate, MSG, or yeast extract is also common, contributing to hyperpalatability, a phenomenon in which foods are engineered to override natural hunger and fullness cues. This manipulation of flavor profiles can promote addictive-like eating behaviors and a preference for other ultra-processed foods, creating a self-reinforcing cycle of poor dietary choices. The caloric density of frozen pizza is another overlooked issue. Despite appearing to be a modest meal, a whole frozen pizza can contain 900 to 1,500 calories, with many consumers underestimating the serving size or eating the entire pizza in one sitting. When eaten regularly, this contributes to a caloric surplus, weight gain, and all of the metabolic complications that follow. It is particularly problematic for children and teenagers, who may eat these meals as after-school snacks or weekend treats, unaware of the long-term implications. Additionally, the lack of micronutrient diversity in frozen pizza means that even when consumed as part of a broader diet, it displaces healthier foods rich in fiber, antioxidants, essential fats, and plant-based compounds that protect against chronic diseases. Over time, A pattern of eating based heavily on frozen and processed meals leads to nutritional deficiencies, weakened immune response, and reduced resilience to illness. The appeal of frozen pizza lies in its simplicity and flavor, but it is precisely this convenience that makes it so dangerous when relied upon regularly. It is not inherently harmful to eat frozen pizza on rare occasions, particularly if balanced with whole, plant-based foods throughout the rest of the day. However, for those who consume it frequently, as a weekly or even daily staple, the cumulative toll on metabolic, cardiovascular, and kidney health can be profound. Ultimately, frozen pizza exemplifies the paradox of ultra-processed food. It solves short-term problems, time, cost, taste, while creating long-term risks, chronic disease, nutritional imbalance, and overconsumption. Individuals seeking to protect their health would do well to limit their intake of frozen pizza, scrutinize ingredient labels carefully, and consider alternatives such as homemade pizzas using whole grain crusts, fresh vegetables, and minimally processed proteins. While such choices require more effort, they offer the possibility of enjoying pizza without sacrificing long-term health in the process.